Hello viewers, hello listeners, hello everyone. Thank you once again for joining me on Team Maps TV. Please don't forget to subscribe if you're coming here for the first time. If you're regular, just through the usual. Please like and comment and also share our videos so that others may also see what we do here. Because what we do is to give you current affairs in real time. So yes, the story that we have, the issue that we have today is that of the main challenges that Nelson Chamisa or Advocate Nelson Chamisa is going to face in case he successfully wins the 2023 watershed elections. This was, of course, motivated by a post by Jacob Ngarivume, the convener of the famous 31st July movement that was a massive stay away in Zimbabwe. So, before I go further, I just want to give you a brief background of what we are going to be talking about. This discussion is based on the premise that Nelson Chamisa wins the 2023 election, and if he indeed wins the election, there are some challenges that we have to face as Zimbabweans to see whether or not Nelson Chamisa will be allowed or will be given his victory. Of course, we have seen what happened in Malawi. We have seen what happened in Zambia. I will take the election in Malawi, for example. The rerun was possible because the Constitutional Court had suspended the previous election and said no, this was not free and fair. They need to be a rerun. So it basically means that the Constitutional Court indeed ruled against the ruling party. So this also happened in Zambia when Hichilema assumed the power. The commission, the Electoral Commission in Zambia, the judiciary in Zambia, the army in Zambia, all played their part to ensuring a free and fair and a credible election. So these were termed as the risks in the discussion that we are going to be having. So according to Jacob Ngarivume, Nelson Chamisa is very popular and is well poised to being Zimbabwe's next president. But to do so, Nelson Chamisa and his people, the people who support him, they have to know that there are challenges to attaining that power. There are challenges to ascertaining state power. I will quote Morgan Tsvangirai, the late Meyiso, rest in peace, after the 2008 elections were contested. An interviewer asked him, if you indeed won the elections, why aren't you at the State House? His response was, it is one thing to win an election, but it is another thing to win power. Why? Because those who control the elections also control the power. So as long as those who control the election still withhold the power, that is of course through the uniformed sources, through the army, through the police. So it is a very huge mountain to climb. So what Morgan Tsvangirai was actually saying, we can win an election, but if we do not win power, it will be another one to throw in the dustbin. So the first risk that Jacob mentions is the risk of SEC, the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, the governing body of Zimbabwean elections, being chaired by Priscilla Chigumba, which also what happened in 2018, that contested election. Is she willing to accept? We are basing this argument on the premise that, of course, yes, 2018 President Emmerson Mnangagwa won, but in 2023, say Nelson Chamisa wins, is Priscilla Chigumba and the whole Zimbabwe Electoral Commission ready to accept that Nelson Chamisa has won, and are they free to declare him as the presidential? And to further this discussion, we just want to see their behavior now. There has been a lot of complaints against the commission. There has to be so many things that have been brought forward by different people in their different capacities towards our electoral commission. So it's a question to say, are they willing to redeem themselves? That takes me also to another quote by Jonathan Moyo, the professor, who said that we can't reform ourselves out of power. So is ZEC willing to reform? Will they reform? There are some key issues that has been highlighted by the opposition. There are issues of media reforms. the issue of electoral reforms in general, there are issues of things like vote buying that are happening under the watch of the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission, and how can those be put to a halt so that the environment becomes free and fair towards 2023. There is also another risk. Risk number one is the ZEC. Then risk number two would be Chief Justice Malaba. A lot of people, a lot of political analysts are of the view that there must be a reason why President Emerson Mnangagwa had to extend Malaba's over the age limit and to change a whole law to allow Malaba to preside over the Constitutional Court. As I mentioned earlier, the Constitutional Court in Malawi had the guts to say, no, we are suspending, we are nullifying this election results, and we are entering a new election, a rerun altogether. Is it possible to have such a ruling in Zimbabwe, given the current judiciary that we have, that is presided over by Chief Justice Malaba? Is it possible in Zimbabwe? Is the judiciary really free? Of course, we have seen a lot of incidences in which the opposition is complaining a lot about the fairness of the impartialism of the judiciary. So going into 2023, will they also accept that? Will it ever be even to say that Chief Justice Malaba will have to treat in a fair manner that will benefit not only Chamisa or CC supporters, but that will put us on the map to say, for after quite a long time now, we have got an uncontested election, whether whoever wins. Because the idea why Malaba is number two is that if it so happens that there is another election challenge, another results challenge, and it is to go to the Constitutional Court, will there be any remedy for Nelson Chamisa and his Citizens Coalition for Change? It's a very big question as we go towards the 2023 election. The other factor, the other risk would be the uniformed forces, i.e. the army and the police. We all saw what happened in 2017 November, ladies and gentlemen. We know that the army yet come to a point to say, no, enough is enough. Of course, we are mandated to protect the president, but we will be, for once, at the side of the people. I'm sure the same scenario happened in Malawi. In Zimbabwe, you remember that when the coup happened, we were taking selfies with the army, we were doing this, whatever. The same scenario happened in Malawi when they ushered in another president. So is the army and the police of Zimbabwe ready and willing to do so? Because they've also been blamed lately of being partial and of working for ZANU-PF more than they are working for the people of Zimbabwe. So the question is, are they also willing to reform themselves? What is worrisome to everybody is this: they also experience the same thing everyone else is experiencing in Zimbabwe. Might it be inflation? Might it be price hikes? Might it be anything that we are facing as a nation, as a country? They are also at the receiving end. So they also need to think about whether or not their salvation will come with ZANU-PF, or a change in government will help them. If they so believe that things will be right with the current government, they ought just to act in an impartial manner. I think what ZANU and the people in ZANU must just do is to provide a free and fair environment so that they win fairly. I am sure, and I am pretty sure that there are quite a number of people who also want ZANU-PF to remain in power. So if they just leave all these persecution and stuff, and just make the playing field level, and just make the media level, and just make everything level, because we expect also to see what Triple C and Nelson Chamisa has to see on ZBC News, the same way that we see President Emerson Mnangagwa. We also expected them to appear in the Herald just the same way as we see President Mnangagwa, but it won't happen. So it seems as if there is a general fear in the ruling party that they might lose, because I am sure that they have got their own legion of supporters that do not want to see them going, that want them to remain in power. So what they must just do, according to my 2 senses, is that they must just level the playing field so much so that everyone won't complain at the end of the day. Then the last point, the last factor that was put forward by Mr. Jacob Bungarevume is the African Union and the Western government. Not only the Western government, the external government rather. He was of the view that are they willing and ready to assist the transition of power? Say something happens in 2023, are they willing and ready? Is the SADC ready to stand for an opposition victory? Is the African Union ready to stand for an opposition? Are other organizations worldwide ready to say that enough is enough? We don't want a contested election anymore in Zimbabwe. Are they willing to give their all in defending the people's victory? So that's just what we have. And as usual, you are free to add on to your opinions, because opinions are like belly buttons. Everybody got their own. So share your thoughts, share what you think. And also, Jacob Garifumi was calling for action so that these things that we have planned may be reformed. In his own words, he said, I will not mince my words. We will not see any change as the areas below without mass action. We won't see any changes. We won't see any changes at the areas below without mass action. That is what he said. And going to an election without changes to these systems is suicidal. So how does this Triple C or the opposition, the MDC or whatever, how does they aim to attain such changes in this short limited space of time? So he is saying we need action towards this amendment, to action towards whatever, so much so that the level playing field, the election level playing field will be level, and so that we won't have any contested election in Zimbabwe anymore. Anokuoneka nyemfaro ndini wenyu Honorable Madiva.